On BBC Local Radio in Shropshire, South Cheshire, North Staffordshire, the West Midlands, Worcestershire and Herefordshire. You're listening to The Gruesome Twosome. Mike Adams and Chris Savory on the show that values your vinyls. It's The Record Collectors between now and 9 tonight.
Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. Well, it's a very warm welcome back to our shores to Billy J. Kramer. Welcome back to England, Billy.
Nice to see you.
You are living, of course, now in New York.
Yes, I've lived in New York for 10 years.
What's the New York accent then?
I don't know. I don't think that I have a total New York accent. No, I just work with a lot of people from different places and do different things, and I've got a bit of this and a bit of that. That's about all.
I mean, in America, you must be very closely associated with the Beatles. I mean, here you had a separate identification, but the Americans' obsession with the Beatles, what sort of questions do they ask you?
Oh, just, everything, really, What was it like working with the Beatles? What was John like? What was George like? It's a bit much.
But what was perhaps the memories that you liked best about working in, during the 60s? My
whole life was opened up, and I was introduced to a lot of beautiful places and beautiful people and a lot of great things, It really opened my head up.
Any little anecdotes that you can share with us? You've obviously seen all the films they've had and done about the era now, like they used to do about the 50s. They're now doing it about Merseybeat, like movies like Backbeat and all the other things. I mean, what are your views?
I think they're a load of rubbish, I think the trouble is, I think they should have used people that were about at that time and taken advice from people that were about at that time to recreate the authenticity. And I don't think I've seen it in anything, in any movie. Not a 60s movie, anyway. I've done I did the complete Beatles, It's amazing because all the good things that I said in the interview were never shown, and then I did, a couple of years ago, I did the real history of rock and roll, and they flew me all the way from New York just to England to do an interview outside the Cavern. And
of course they moved the Cavern, haven't they?
That's right. I know. It was funny, but I've not even seen that. It's been on TV a few times. I've not even seen it.
Now, in the beginning, there was yourself and a group called the Coasters.
Right.
And we all know that, in fact, you changed your local group, and you actually had a group called the Dakotas, which were a Manchester group.
Yes.
And the first record you did was a cover of the Beatles' first album, which was Do You Want to Know a Secret?
Right.
Now, that was a pretty instant hit. How did that come about?
It came about that Brian gave me a tape of John singing it on an acoustic guitar, and we went in and recorded it, and we were sort of doing the song on stage for 6 or 9 months before we recorded it, before we got a deal with the song. And we actually did record it before the Beatles. They put it on their first album, but we'd actually had it in the can. And it was a hit before their first album came out even.
Did you keep a copy of the tape that John... Do you have that original strumming tape?
No.
I bet you could kick yourself for that.
I could kick myself for a lot of things.
And then it was it Bad to Me? Bad to Me was the next one.
Yes.
Yeah. Who worked in the studio with you? Were the Beatles ever there when you recorded?
They were there when I recorded Bad to Me, and Do You Want to Know a Secret, and I'll Keep You Satisfied, and From a Window.
Did they play in any of the tracks?
No, they didn't, because funny enough, I had a writer recently contact me in New York who's writing a book about the Beatles, about the different songs people had recorded of theirs, and was asking me had they played on any of the records, and I said no, they never played on any records at all. The only thing they ever did was they did the vocal backing. They joined in on the vocal backing of From a Window at the end.
And when was the last time you saw the Beatles?
I haven't seen George Harrison for many, many years. And let's face it, I live in the States now. Anyway, I saw Paul McCartney about 3-4 years ago at Madison Square Gardens. And he was great,
Let's go past the parlophone period, and let's after the parlophone era, which in fact was hit after hit, and you then moved on to Reaction Records and Nem's own record label.
Yes, and I recorded Town of Tuxley Toymaker Part 1, which was a Bee Gees song.
Which I have a copy of.
Oh, that's great. I don't.
Seriously, don't you?
No, I don't.
Do you have a large record collection?
No, I'm not really bothered about it now, because I mean, my wife does though. You know, but I mean, I don't bother with records much now. I play CDs in the car.
The records you were listening to in Bootle back in 1900 and Frozen to Death.
Yeah.
I mean, what records did you listen to as a kid?
I listened to everybody. I listened to Jerry Lee Lewis, and I listened to Fats Domino, and I listened to Chuck Berry. And
I mean, did you ever get to what they call the Cunard Yanks bringing in records? Or did you buy them from Nem's?
I never bought them from Nem's. I bought them from a radio store at a shop in Oral Park.
Yeah.
Allen's, I think it was. And I used to get my records from there, and I got a few from imported things from the US, like Elvis doing like Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel and things like that.
Of all the artists that you've worked with, and I mean, you've just played with just about everybody who is anybody, who was your personal favourite?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I had a lot of good fun working with Gene Pitney. He is a complete gentleman, and he's a great singer, and he's a wonderful human being.
And what about, I mean, stories about you and John Lennon going out on the town together, which, any truth in those stories back in the 60s? Do you and John have a close friendship?
And not really. We were sort of friendly when we did gigs together. We used to all get together at the bowling alley in Chubrook after gigs on a Saturday night and things like that. But, you know, I had a fight with John. Not a fight, but I remember like Paul's 21st, he was drunk, you know, and he was a bit obnoxious, but he apologised the next day, you know, so it's nothing.
Any ambitions left for Billy J. Kramer? I mean, after you've done so much, been so many places, now the other side of the Atlantic, had so many number one hit records, is there anything left for you to do?
I'd like to do some more, but do it better. I'm starting, when I get back to the United States, I'm going to drama school. You know, it's a cliche, I'm sure everybody's heard many times from people who are singers, you know, but I just feel that I want to try this because it's, you know, to try at my age, it's not as if I'm going for some like teenage idol parts in some pop movies, you know, and I'm going to give it a good shot, you know, because I was disappointed, you know, a couple of years ago I auditioned, and that's the thing that I've not done a lot of. Funny enough, I've been very fortunate that I haven't, but I auditioned for Blood Brothers in the States, and I thought this is the perfect vehicle for me. It's a musical written by somebody from Liverpool. It's a producer from Liverpool. It's a Liverpool story, and it's perfect. And I thought the part which I was after, which was the narrator, would have been one that wouldn't have been too taxing. I thought it was tailor-made for me, and I never got it, you know. And since then I've thought, well, if something else like that comes along, I want to make sure that I'm, you know, I have my act together so I can stand a better chance.
Let's just ask you another question. Brian Epstein, or Epstein, as we used to call Epi.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of books written about Brian. What was your relationship with Brian like?
My relationship with Brian was very good. He was very good to me. He was very good to my family. You know, he was like a very thoughtful man. He always bought us gifts and things like that, and he took a real interest in my career, even to the point of he would go to a tailor's with me to make sure I got the right kind of clothes and shirts and shoes. He was always, you know, into like making sure that the lighting was right, that what you said was right, that you had the right songs in your set. He was one of the last real managers.
Some criticism about it. In fact, he could have got better deals for his artists, that he sold his artists short. But I mean, you obviously feel very loyal towards Brian.
No, I'll be honest with you. You know, Brian made mistakes, but you see, he had no barometer. He had nothing to gauge things by. You know, this was the start of it. When people say, like, He did bad deals, but nobody had done deals before.
Except Colonel Tom Parker.
That's all.
But your first hit in America, Little Children, wasn't
Yes.
it? Which made the top 10.
Right.
Then you went on an American tour on the back of that.
Right.
I mean, do you feel that it should have been given a little bit more of a heavyweight push then to establish you in the USA a little bit more than, and particularly as is, previously the success of the Beatles, that you could have actually been as the sort of heartthrob, you might say, from the Merseybeat era. There should have been more publicity for you.
Looking at it, today, yeah, maybe you're right. But back then, I mean, let's face it, we'd all had so many things happen to us in a very short space of time. We're just kids from Liverpool, and suddenly we're the other side of the Atlantic, doing these big TV shows, doing these tours, with it's like every day of the week is a mind blow, and you can't keep focused on what should be happening.
Have you ever met any of your own heroes?
Met and worked with Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis and people like that, yeah. James Brown.
What's your favourite hit of all the ones you've recorded?
I think Little Children.
Well, can I just say, Billy J. Kramer, on behalf of our listener, thank you very much for the music. We hope that it isn't too long before you're back home again, and also with a new album. I'm playing a track off the EP collection, which is available from Stephen Miles Records, and here is Little Children from Billy J.
Thank you very much.